Tutankhamun's mask is an icon. And I think part of it is because it is made of solid gold, and a lot of people get wowed by that.
For over 3,000 years, King Tutankhamun's mask has stared back at the world, silent, perfect, and supposedly understood. But recently, scientists aimed a technology never meant for ancient gold, quantum imaging. What it revealed wasn't just hidden craftsmanship. It challenged everything Egyptologists thought they knew about how this mask was made. And why? Because buried inside one of the most famous artifacts in human history was something no one was looking for. This is the story of King Tut's mask, and the scan that stunned an entire field. Cracks in the golden face. Inside was a dazzling collection of treasures. Golden chariots, jewels, statues, and a royal throne. But buried deep within the innermost of 3 coffins lay the one object that would capture the world's imagination forever. The golden death mask. This thing is breathtaking. It stands about 21 inches tall and weighs over 22 pounds. That's more than a bowling ball made of solid gold. It's inlaid with precious stones like lapis lazuli and turquoise. For the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't just art. It was sacred technology. They believed gold was the flesh of the gods. The mask's job was to protect the pharaoh's mummy and to help his soul recognize its own body in the afterlife. Without it, his spirit could be lost forever. On the back, there's even a magic spell from the Book of the Dead carved in hieroglyphs to protect him. For decades, the world saw this mask as a perfect, flawless masterpiece, the ultimate symbol of ancient Egypt's power. But here's the catch. Almost immediately, experts noticed things that just didn't add up. The crazy part is, the clues were hidden in plain sight. First, there was the problem of time. King Tut passed away suddenly around age 19, likely from an infection after a bad leg break. According to Egyptian beliefs, a pharaoh had to be mummified and buried in exactly 70 days. Think about that. 70 days to carve a tomb, build 3 coffins, gather thousands of artifacts, and create this solid gold mask. It seemed impossible. The tomb itself backed up this rush job theory. It was tiny, much smaller than any other pharaoh's tomb. Some of the paintings on the walls looked unfinished, like the artists just dropped their brushes and ran. Even the huge stone sarcophagus was chipped on the corners, as if workers had to smash it just to make it fit into the cramped room. This led experts to look closer at the treasures. And get this, many of them didn't seem to be made for Tut at all. They found statues with faces that looked different. They found jewelry that seemed to be made for a woman. Then they looked at the mask again. The biggest clue? The ears. The mask has pierced ears. In ancient Egypt, only children and women wore earrings. An adult male pharaoh, especially on his sacred burial mask, would never be shown with pierced ears. It was a massive red flag. Some experts also pointed out that the face itself seemed off. The features were delicate, almost feminine, and the gold on the face had a slightly different color, a bit redder than the gold on the rest of the headdress. A startling idea slowly took shape. What if the mask was never meant for King Tut? What if, facing the pressure of the 70-day deadline, the priests simply seized a mask meant for someone else, hastily modified it, and placed it on Tut's mummy? This sparked the most important question of all. If the mask wasn't Tut's, then whose was it? Attention shifted to one of history's most enigmatic and influential women, Queen Nefertiti. She was Tut's stepmother, and after her husband died, she vanished entirely from historical records. Some historians think she may have ruled as pharaoh, using a different name. What if this mask was originally created for her? That would explain the pierced ears and the softer feminine features. For years, this became the greatest argument in Egyptology. Was the world's most famous artifact a work of genius or a recycled relic? For decades, it remained only a theory. Then X-rays appeared to settle the argument for good. The beard and the beeswax. The argument over the mask continued through most of the 20th century. The Nefertiti theory captured imaginations, but proving it meant damaging a priceless treasure, and no one would allow that. The mask remained in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, admired by millions, while its secrets stayed hidden. Then, in 2014, catastrophe happened. The story shocked the entire world. During a routine cleaning, the mask's long braided beard, a symbol of divinity, broke off completely. Museum staff panicked. Instead of calling professional conservators, they attempted to repair it themselves. And they chose the worst possible solution: epoxy. The same industrial-strength glue used for plumbing or car repairs. They slathered it on, reattached the beard, and hoped nobody would notice. Everyone noticed. Worse still, glue was smeared across the golden chin. Egypt's greatest treasure, which had survived for more than 3,300 years, was damaged by a tube of hardware store glue. The reaction was overwhelming. The global outrage was intense. The Egyptian government stepped in immediately. A full investigation was launched, and a team of leading international experts was assembled, led by German conservator Christian Ekman. His mission was to reverse the damage and preserve the mask. But Ekman recognized something else. This disaster created a rare opportunity. Before reattaching the beard, he could finally examine the mask in ways never possible before. Using modern science, he aimed to answer the Nefertiti mystery once and for all. His team went beyond standard X-rays. They used high-resolution X-ray fluorescence, known as XRF. This method fires X-rays at an object, causing its atoms to glow and reveal the exact elements inside. It reads the chemical signature of the gold itself. Here's the key. If the face had been removed from Nefertiti's mask and replaced with one made for Tut, the XRF scans would reveal it. The gold mixtures would differ. There would be solder traces, fine seams, and clear evidence of modification. The team spent months scanning every part of the mask. When the results arrived, the entire Egyptology world breathed easier. Ekman's conclusions were unmistakable. The mask had not been modified. First, the gold. The XRF scans showed the gold in the face and the gold in the headdress were an exact match. They came from the same original batch of metal. The small color difference people noticed was simply lighting or an intentional artistic choice. Second, the nameplate. The hieroglyphs spelling Tutankhamun were authentic. There was no sign that another name had been scraped away or flattened beneath them. But the final clue was the most impressive of all. Ekman pointed to the fine blue stripes around the eyes and across the headdress. Those details are made from fragile colored glass. If a new face had been soldered onto the mask, the extreme heat, well over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, would have cracked or melted that glass instantly. Instead, the glass was flawless and untouched. The conclusion was clear. The mask was crafted as one complete piece specifically for King Tut. So what about the pierced ears? Ekman suggested it was simply a fashion choice, or perhaps a leftover detail from Tut's youth. In short, science had solved the mystery. The Nefertiti theory was finished. The real story was that Egypt's craftsmen were just that skilled. They created this perfect 22-pound masterpiece from nothing in only 70 days. Ekman's team carefully removed the epoxy and, in a fitting final step, reattached the beard using beeswax, the same natural adhesive the ancient Egyptians themselves would have used. The mask was whole once more, and the mystery seemed settled. Everyone accepted this, until a new technology changed everything forever. Peering into the gold, Ekman's report became the definitive answer. The case was closed. Tour guides, textbooks, documentaries, all repeated the same official explanation. The mask was entirely Tut's. But it wasn't that simple. For a small circle of physicists and Egyptologists, something still didn't add up. The rushed 70-day deadline, the cramped tomb, the reused coffins, and above all, the pierced ears. Ekman's claim that it was just a style choice felt unsatisfying. It was a loose thread in an otherwise neat conclusion. The issue, they argued, wasn't Ekman's evidence, it was his tools. X-rays and XRF scanners are powerful, but they have limits. They're excellent at detecting density. They can distinguish gold from solder or reveal cracks. But what if the ancient craftsmen were cleverer than that? What if they used the exact same batch of gold to fill the ear holes? What if they flattened the original name and then carved it again without adding new metal? What if the face was attached so perfectly that the seams were invisible even under magnification? To X-rays, all of this would look like one solid, uniform object. X-rays can't see the story of the metal. They can't tell whether one section was reheated or reshaped while another was left untouched. To uncover that, an entirely new level of technology would be required. And here's the twist. A new technology had just emerged. It's known as quantum resonance imaging, or QRI. Simply put, it doesn't just capture images. It fires a controlled beam of quantum particles at an object. These particles bounce off individual atoms like microscopic sonar. By reading those echoes, the system creates a 3D map not only of the material itself, but of its molecular structure and thermal history. It can tell the difference between metal poured and cooled once, and metal that was cooled, reheated, hammered, and cooled again. In theory, it could detect a seam only a few atoms wide. A hidden team, backed by a private university and operating under the codename Project Osiris, received approval from the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities to conduct a new non-invasive scan. This was meant purely as a technology test. They didn't expect to discover anything. Their goal was simply to show that their costly new machine actually worked. Late in 2024, after the Grand Egyptian Museum closed for the night, the team rolled in the enormous QRI scanner. They aimed the beam at the mask for hours. The only noise was the steady hum of the machine as it examined the gold, atom by atom. The team leader watched the data appear on the laptop, mostly confirming what Ekman had already concluded. Then the scanner zeroed in on the cartouche, the oval containing Tut's name. The first images appeared. The team leader dropped his coffee. What the quantum scan uncovered didn't just question earlier X-ray results, it destroyed them. The Project Osiris team stared at their screens, realizing they were the first people in 3,300 years to witness the truth. The entire world of Egyptology was about to be shaken to its core. First, the face. The quantum scan revealed what the team called thermal ghosting, surrounding the edge of the mask's face. This is a clear molecular sign that the gold in that precise outline had been heated to a different temperature than the gold of the headdress. Christian Ekman was correct that front-side soldering would have shattered the glass, but the ancient craftsmen didn't attach it that way. They bonded it from behind using a high-pressure heating method that left the surface flawless. X-rays missed this detail, but the quantum scan detected the molecular stress. The face had been removed and replaced. Second, the ears. The scan of the earlobes was even more startling. X-rays showed solid gold. The quantum scan revealed two flawless cylindrical plugs. The ancient artisans had filled the original pierced holes with gold rods made from the exact same alloy. They then hammered and polished them so perfectly that the seams disappeared. But the quantum scan detected differences in the metal's grain and density. The ears had been plugged. The most astonishing discovery, the one that stunned the entire team, was the name. The X-ray scan showed only the name Tutankhamun. But the quantum scan went deeper, examining atomic displacement beneath the surface. It revealed that the gold in that area had been hammered, flattened, and scraped in a way unlike the rest of the mask. The original hieroglyphs had been completely erased, and the quantum scanner had one final ability. By mapping faint microscopic traces of the original hammer marks, the echoes of the first inscription, the computer could digitally reconstruct what once existed. The team ran the program. Slowly, the original hieroglyphs formed on the screen. It was not Tutankhamun. The name was Neferneferuaten. This was the definitive proof. Neferneferuaten is the throne name believed to have been used by Queen Nefertiti when she ruled as pharaoh. The Nefertiti theory wasn't just correct, it was finally proven. The quantum scan exposed the full dramatic sequence of events. When King Tut died unexpectedly, no burial mask was ready. His powerful successor likely claimed Tut's grand tomb for himself. Desperate and racing against the 70-day deadline, the priests seized the burial mask of the previous ruler, Nefertiti. They worked fast. They sealed her pierced ears. They commissioned a new face for the young king. They carefully cut out Nefertiti's face and attached Tut's in its place. Finally, they flattened her royal name and carved his over it. Today, the mask sits in the new museum, admired by millions. But now, we know the truth. It makes you wonder how many other solved mysteries are simply waiting for the right technology to uncover the real story. What do you think about this discovery? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden secrets from history.